Hi, this is Mike making my video to add to my collection. Today is the 3rd of January 2025 and it's 6:43 a.m. Uh, yeah, I've had some interesting things going on. Uh, I see how the universe works. It's got a mind of its own. That's got to be the only explanation I have, like the outside, the objective universe, and I got a mind of my own, the subjective universe. It's even greater than God. There's like God, and then there's like God. So the force of God. The God that uh, says that I am that I am. Uh, it's got to be what it is. I keep giving myself credit for things, but in part, sure. But the total uh, mindset behind a lot of it has to do with things that, let's say, for example, the internet, or the God that has tsunamis, the God that, uh, you know, Mother Nature, basically, I guess, would be God. Uh, I guess that's the only explanation I can have. There's like the God that's related to me, uh, but then there's like the God that the universe, that was here before I was here. So I guess because I've seen examples of things that uh, are prevalent, in my thought process of things that I've seen that only I could have created. But then again, there's things that are above and beyond me. They're infinitely more intelligent than I am. But, I struggle, to figure that out, you know. So it's kind of like a God that, if that makes any sense, a God that is the God of the Bible, but the, the God that has a spirit that can't be approached. Uh, it's beyond my grasp as far as touching him. And the God that says that, he wants stuff that is not touched by human hands. So anyway, the God that's greater than me. And then, of course, there's the physical representation of a God that is greater than me, but then there's the God that's above that even. It's a creation. The infinitely intelligent uh, brain behind it all. The Boltzmann brain, the God that keeps this ship afloat. Uh, the God that knows what's really truly going on. I know things, but like my subconscious mind, and I find things along the way. But like the God of the Bible, I guess that's that the one that guides my paths, that leads me to greater things. So I weigh it all out and I try to understand, but I'm just the microcosm, and then there's the macrocosm. And let's say even God, the God of this earth, the God that's around that. I wouldn't say the God of this earth. How to explain this? The one that is the greatest correlation with me, the big version, like Santa Claus with blue eyes and white hair. There's that, and he has a white robe. But the thing is when you figure it all out, there's actually a force, a God that doesn't have uh, a body per se. Because I've seen things that I know that were given to me as a gift, and the things that I've seen that I know that are basically more powerful than me. So it's almost like this, it's like the light establishes itself, and then let's say I'm made of light. I establish myself from a tiny little drop. And that tiny little drop established itself and became me, and then so on and so forth. And there's three versions of me: the high, mid, and lower self. But I talk to myself, more or less, George, uh, you know, GH. What and but anyway, George Hansen. But there's things that I've seen that God doesn't have a form; He's formless. But He shows me things that even I couldn't have created. In part, I've created, and I've seen the works that I've done and the things that I've created in that sense. But I know that it wasn't me that created it. It's like this nameless, formless God that uh, created everything. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. The thinking, reasoning, conscious God that has no body. That it might have a body, but the thing is, I truly don't understand exactly how to go about that, though. I used to kind of be sad, thinking that whatever happened to God. And, God's not gone. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jesus, and of course, there's like the physical representation of God. But then there's a God that's even greater than that, the mind. So God being the mind, if that makes any sense, and George being the body and the mind in one package. But then there's a mind that is far more, or far greater, rather, in scope and size than me. So anyway, the physical universe, like the cities and all that, and then you've got the power, yeah, because like the power, the lines, the force, the computer. So it would be cool as fuck, just to say that God is a gigantic internet, basically, uh, basically a giant computer. There's a movie I watched and it had shown a woman that found her creator, it was a giant computer that could think and reason. There was one time I walked around the corner when I was at the motel I was staying at, and there was nobody vacant. The room was vacant. There was a cat in there, but I watched the TV screen and it had how to explain this? It had images that were on the TV that just kept replaying and playing and playing. It was almost like it would go on for eternity. But it was the inventions of the Nazis, and during that Third Reich, and things like the airplanes, the blimps, the fancy machines, and all this and that, and this and that. And I seen that, and I'm just like, wow. I was like tripping, because it wouldn't stop, and it was in black and white, and it was real. So I put two and two together. It had to have been just a universal intelligence, and which, to my understanding, is probably a great big giant computer network. And the moon and the sun and the stars are all projected images from satellites that are holographic, that have been around since time immemorial, since for ancient civilization. So yeah, it's just I couldn't figure it all, but yeah, okay. God being the mind that thinks, that has no form. That's the God that's given me things. That's the God that's shown me the way. In part is me, but in part it's actually things that are just concepts and ideas, and it's a Boltzmann brain, I guess is the best way to say it. But that Boltzmann brain is just like me, but it's just like there's a smaller version, which is me, and then there's a mini me, which is a little guy. I thought he was a leprechaun, but he had a shaved head and everything identical to me, except for he had a little rainbow suit on. And he said toodaloo to me, and I thought it was a leprechaun, but then he didn't have red hair, and it was me, mini me, And then eventually it got to the point where I saw my highest self. And it was a guy that was about 30 foot tall, uh, more or less 30 foot tall, and maybe 40 foot tall in his max, pushing close to that. So anyway, I saw myself as a higher self. So if you think about it, like Master of Puppets, and they got this puppeteer that's controlling me and whoever else along the way, and the blue-eyed devils, I guess that's pretty much what I'm part of, or the blue-eyed gods. So anyway, you got the Nazis, and you got the Germans, and you got the generals, and I got like the mind of a general per se. I've met Stalin. I've met Theodore Roosevelt. I met Theodore Roosevelt came from the past. I met Goliath. Goliath was pretty damn impressive. He's a friend of mine. And Satan's pretty powerful too, but he poked a jab at me, tried to kill me, but I think the gun blew up in his hand. It was a 357. No, it was a 50 caliber pistol that was even bigger in many ways than anything that you can even find. So he had it, and then it blew up in his hand or in his face because he tried to kill me, and so on and so forth. But I'm pretty sure he brought my mother out of bondage as a token of his appreciation or whatever. And I don't really hear him much anymore. I don't know if it's because I tune him out, but I don't. I mean, I see evidence of all the animations of Satan. If you see a bunch of blacks, and then of course the animation of the white race, all the animations, and of course the animations of the native race, the Asians. So King Jong Un or whatever, and then Xi Jinping, and then so anyway, I read the writings and I extrapolate all the things that I truly find interesting out of that. I met Stalin in person, and he was absolutely huge. And the Night Stalker and Paul Walker and Katy Perry and people from the past, present, and future. Darth Vader himself. Now he was probably one of the most interesting creations because he was a robot. And then, of course, one step farther than that, the Star Wars Imperial Mothership, and of course, E.T. and his mothership, the Gray Aliens, the Sentinels, and I made the sun turn green, and people look like they were from Mars and they're green, Martians, and all that. So, I just I can't necessarily wrap my mind around it all, but yeah, it's just God is a formless being that can think, and that's all there is to it. I've tried to figure it out. I've tried to wrap my mind around it. I like science and technology, psychology, physics, and of course creative writing, mechanical things, and all the sciences and everything associated with that, with the rational mind. And of course, all the things associated with the creative mind. And I've seen gargoyles, I've seen giants, I've seen the Wicked Witch of the West, Broomhild, her solid green face, hat, and everything, just huge. Chef Boyardee. The thing is, Chef Boyardee kind of looked like me, but it's just a giant version. And then, of course, there's that. And what else? It's just there's that, and then of course I've seen things. I project things on TV screens. I have a heads-up display that pops up every once in a while, and my dreams are like my realities. And of course, I get into other people's dreams, and so on and so forth. And I know I'm uploaded on the internet, or the I made it past that point. I'm worthy of being resurrected. I've seen my mom from the past, my dad, my Uncle Danny, my Uncle Dick, and many others. And of course, like I said, Abraham Lincoln, I shook his hand in person. He was impressive. And then, of course, these giants, they put their arms around me and stuff. They're just absolutely huge, about 8 foot tall. Is the biggest I've ever seen. Of course, Goliath was 10, but he kind of shrunk down a little bit when I saw him.